Just wanted to give a quick thank you to all of our sponsors and partners for supporting our chapter. And yeah, we're so fortunate to have these great speakers for you today. So while we get started, I'm going to introduce Hiroko. She is our Global Luxury Chair on our board, and she is going to introduce our first speaker, which is Will Wall with the SoFi Stadium. So Hiroko?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Hiroko Nishikawa Nauman. I'm a board member of ALIA LA chapter, LA Coastal chapter. I will introduce our first speaker's profile. William Wall, Premier Sales Consultant of SoFi Stadium. Mr. Wall is entering his fourth season with the team and excited to give an overview of the over 298-acre development, which includes the LA Chargers new stadium, as well as a performance venue, open-air plaza, park, commercial, retail, and residential spaces. Please join me in welcoming our special speaker, William Wall.
Hello, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and get my screen shared. Thank you guys so much for having me out. Are you guys able to see my screen? If you can give me a thumbs up. Perfect. So we'll go ahead and get this going for you guys here. And as Hiroko and Tiffany mentioned, my name is Will. I'm here with the SoFi Stadium, and I'm excited to talk to you guys about what's arguably the largest, development happening here in the West Coast, but more importantly, here in our backyard in Los Angeles. And as realtors, it's important for you guys to know about these types of developments because this affects housing prices both in and around the stadium and all of LA in particular. And really what's happening at this stadium for the next, call it decade, is going to set up a lot of future endeavors here in the Los Angeles area. And so what we're looking at right here is the old Hollywood Park racetrack, which most of you in the building are familiar with. And if you're not, you may have heard of the Forum, which is just directly north of the racetrack site there and happens to be the #2 concert venue in the country. So you may or may not have been out to a show there, but this area typically was an area that was tough to get into, a couple of decades ago. If you had tickets to the Lakers when it was, Magic Johnson and the Showtime era, that was pretty special. If you were going to the Kings games when Wayne Gretzky, one of the greatest hockey players of all time, was here in Los Angeles, that was right here in Inglewood. And so even the races at this racetrack, there were championship $1 million horse races happening here. So what we're going to talk about today is what this will look like in the future. And really, when we do look at this development, you're going to still see that Forum directly there to the north. So that's still here. Big news article was out about a month and a half ago. That venue is actually purchased by Mr. Steve Ballmer, who is the owner of the LA Clippers. And so the Clippers, who play right down here in downtown LA at Staples Center, in 2024, when their lease expires, they are looking to move right down here to this plot of land adjacent to our stadium just to the south. And that is going to become their new $1.2 billion basketball arena. So that'll really create an entertainment belt here in Inglewood where you can go and see a 20,000 seat concert, a 70,000 seat Taylor Swift or NFL football game or concert or sporting event, or a 20,000 seat basketball game with the NBA, all within a block, city street block here of Inglewood. And so looking here, obviously the stadium is the wow factor. That's the sexy thing that you've seen all over the news. It's a $5 billion stadium. But as Hiroko mentioned, the stadium sits on approximately 298 acres, which, we round up to 300 acres for ease. And that 300 acres is what you see here. And that 300 acres, in addition to the stadium, will include residential, anywhere from about 1,500 to 2,500 residential homes. It'll include a retail district, and it'll include a commercial district that will all augment that NFL experience and create really a 365-day product that people can come down to year round here at the stadium. Looking here at our next slide, you're going to get into a picture that really kind of showcases this district. And so when we think of the SoFi Stadium, that's our crown jewel, but really taking a couple of steps back, this lake that you see here mimics the old lake that you saw in Hollywood Park's racetrack. And that used to be a community event space where people could go and really kind of, do a movie night in the park, trade shows, different types of events. And that's what we can do here in our community space. And so this lake actually is part of 25 acres of parkland that connect the different districts together. And as you can see here, you have your bar, your grill. This is the hotel right across the way. And both of these look directly into that stadium. So the stadium very much is the showcase piece, but these other components will be able to run sufficiently on their own. We expect the mall to be a 365-day mall experience, as with the commercial tenants and the hotel, which can be used year-round as well. So really, when we look here from a macro level, this gives us this aerial view here, and you can see, again, that event space, that stadium site, that's, a bulk of the district. But here on the right, you have this extended park place and the residentials, as well as a little pocket of residential right here in between this retail and commercial sectors. So when we look at this composition as a whole, again, 890,000 square feet of entitlement for retail space. You're talking about up to 8.5 million square feet of commercial. So all this commercial here can also be built on top of these parking lots. So when you saw that picture a couple slides ago that saw all the buildings lit up and showcased around the stadium, that's kind of our 10-year plan, where we can adapt and add more commercial, more retail, more residential if demand is there. But as it stands currently, we're looking at a 3-phase project, with the first part of that coming this year, summer 2020, with the grand opening of SoFi Stadium. When you look at the commercial and the retail developments, those will come a little bit shorter after. We're looking at more of a 2021, 2022 timeline. So you can imagine, if you're a retailer in one of those retail spaces, you're going to want your Super Bowl week to make your money and sell your product. And the same can be said for those commercial tenants. You're going to want to be there for that super week. And that Super Bowl is scheduled here for February of 2022. And that was when I would imagine that the bulk of the retail and commercial part of the construction will be complete. Here's an aerial view, and this is a view that'll kind of show you what's happening around the stadium. This is when the roof was not complete. It's now completed. The stadium itself is at 97% completion. And we'll take a look at a video here shortly that kind of showcases that. But this right here next door, that's the NFL Network building. And that's the place where the NFL Network, NFL Media, and NFL West Coast is relocating. So again, Culver City for the last 3 decades has been the home of the NFL Network. This will now become their new West Coast headquarters, and that is located directly adjacent to the stadium there. You can also see the lake here, which is kind of filled with some brown water right there initially, and that water has now been treated and is cleaned. That water in the lake is actually runoff water from the district. So all of the rainwater will collect in that lake and be used to water all of the plants and foliage around the property. Here's a more completed version of the picture that we just saw, and you can see the roof here, as well as that lake now really starting to come into place. You'll probably see me down there in a jet ski by the next picture, just riding across the lake. I wish. I don't think they'll be able to do that down there, but again, you see the commercial building here, the NFL Network coming along, and really in this next picture, the aerial photo, you're starting to see a lot of ground moving in some of these other entitlements. So I did flip the picture here. This is now the north. So the Forum would be just right here to the north of us. And this is going to be east. So this is that eastern panhandle where we saw the bulk of the residential being built here on the campus. And you're now starting to see the dirt move around on that side of the district, which means the third phase of the project, which is the residential homes, that should be coming fairly shortly after this commercial and retail build out. You guys are professionals. You know a typical commercial build out takes anywhere from about 18 to 24 months. And so as you can see here with the progress already being made, some of those buildings are going to be done sooner than later, which is really exciting for us here on the project. Again, why this is important for you guys is, as you can see from this macro picture here, everybody in Los Angeles is connected to this stadium. You can see Palos Verdes, Redondo Beach, Southeast LA, all the way down to Long Beach. This is our stadium. And when we talk about the next 10 years here in LA, our stadium is going to play a big part of that. So the Super Bowl I already mentioned coming in 2022. 2021, we're going to have WrestleMania, which will draw 100,000 wrestling fans from across the globe here to our city of Los Angeles. 2023, it's the college football NCAA championship, which is the college football version of the Super Bowl. So again, 100,000 fans from Clemson, 100,000 fans from Alabama. Sorry if I have anybody here on the call from a different school, but those are the big schools that are going to be coming here to experience Los Angeles. And that'll be our chance to kind of showcase our city for those people from across the globe. And then obviously the 2026 World Cup, which is an international soccer competition that's been announced for USA, Mexico, and Canada. And we'd be hard-pressed to see this stadium not getting one of those matches. And then, of course, the crown piece of them all, in 2028, the Olympics is coming back here to Los Angeles. And we're very excited to be hosting the opening and closing ceremonies in conjunction with the Coliseum, as well as several other events which are in the planning phases from the IOC. Every time they come down here to see the stadium, they're blown away. There's even talks about archery taking place across the lake. So you'd have archers actually shooting their arrows across that lake at targets, which again would create quite a beautiful backdrop for our stadium and for Los Angeles here. Moving along here, this is actually a photo from inside of the stadium. So this is one of our club spaces here in the stadium, where our VIP members will walk in from parking directly down into this private club space and then into the stadium. And you can really see the progress here of the NFL Network building. So this is the picture from our topping off party, which for the NFL Network building was the final piece of the roof going into place there. So that's as high as that building will get. And again, very exciting for us to see some of the other entitlements now seeing some major progress. So eventually that building will be right here, the NFL Network building. And that plaza that we looked at was just about maybe 50 to 80 feet below ground level here. So you can see here from the NFL Network building, again, this is a year-round showcase. So we can invite fans from not just the Chargers and not just the Rams, but every one of our NFL teams across the United States can come here and visit Los Angeles to be a part of this NFL Network experience, which is, again, very, very important to us here. This is a view walking into the grand entrance of the stadium. So this is, again, kind of the grand foyer that you would walk into. And this is that same picture that you're kind of seeing here, where you would walk in from that bar or restaurant, and then you're going to be walking right up that stairway into that actual stadium there, which is, again, very exciting for us to kind of see that type of progress being made here. Looking at the district, again, we're very, very excited to see other components come together. But the stadium itself, obviously with COVID, we've seen a couple of hiccups in our timeline. We were speaking earlier, we were supposed to have our grand opening here this weekend. Taylor Swift was supposed to be here on Friday and Saturday of this weekend, coming up here for a 2-day music concert. And, here I was a couple of weeks back at the stadium, and you can see, I'm one of maybe 50 people in the building. And so, it's kind of eerie to walk through the place and be one of 50 in a building that's supposed to really hold 70,000 to 100,000 people. But one day we'll get there. And, this was a picture from last week during Pride celebration when we were able to light up the video board, and we've now gotten the floor in there. So we have the turf down, and, we're ready to play some football here whenever we're able to get that go ahead. And I do want to give you guys an update on the COVID situation and where the teams are, to let you guys know. Obviously, COVID is a big thing, not just for sports, but for our entire community. And the NFL is obviously fan friendly first. And so you won't find an instance where our fans, me, our personnel, or our players are ever put at any risk. But looking here at this stadium, you can tell it's coming along and really getting to the point where we're ready to start playing some football in there. So I do want to share one quick video with you guys here, and this is just going to be a quick construction update video. This is our June update from what we're doing here at the stadium. Want to make sure I got the right screen shared. So here we go. Are you guys seeing this video? And I'll turn the volume down, but I'll kind of narrate this for you guys here. And we'll pause it a couple of times and talk about what's happening. So what you guys see going on right here is our video board actually being lifted up into place. And so that video board is 3 stories high and will provide an absolutely phenomenal experience. As I mentioned, think Taylor Swift. When you're in at a Dodger Stadium watching Taylor Swift, there's a big video board out here in the outfield. And if you're one of the fans that's over here, you have a really far view of that video board. Here, this video board, it's dual-sided. There's video inside and outside. So wherever you are in the building, you're going to get a phenomenal view. And we saw the roof from the outside in the picture I showed you earlier. And when you look in from above, from an aerial view, what you're seeing is this component called ETFE. And what ETFE is a polymer that when the sunlight comes down and hits that roof, 50 to 65% of the UV rays are going to deflect back out. And UV is what you typically associate with the harmful effects of sun. And so we are going to be deflecting the majority of the UV back out. But as you can see here, you see the clouds, you see the blue. So when you're inside, you look up and it looks like a normal day. So this ETFE material, although it's a heat resistant and weatherproof polymer, it looks very much like a glass or a plastic. It's got this translucent look to it. So you look and feel as if you're outside. And you'll see these pillars here that support that roof. We very much are outdoors. This is the world's largest outdoor covered venue. So you do actually get that natural breeze when you're sitting inside.
Will, it looks like we have one question. Are SoFi screens larger than Dallas's?
Great question, guys, and it's a perfect stopping point right here. So everything's bigger in Dallas, right? Not anymore. We can take that prize back here for us in Los Angeles. So great question. The Dallas Cowboys Stadium runs about 109 yards. Ours goes 127 yards. The other difference is Dallas's video board is flat, so it only has one side that can be seen here and one over here, which means if you're one of the fans in one of these areas here, you're not able to look up and see that video board because it's flat right above you. And so this video board is actually wider and longer than their video board in Dallas, as is the stadium itself. So the Dallas Cowboys AT&T Stadium would fit inside of our stadium. So a couple things coming bigger for Los Angeles for us, and that's why we're excited to have the Olympics. This is the biggest stadium in the country. Here we're just looking at some views down on the field, so you can see, again, we've put in the turf, and this is what the players are going to look up into as well. So, you guys forget the excitement that a player gets when they're at a baseball game and they crack a home run and they see that up on the video board. A player is going to be running down the field here and look up and see themselves in that video board running on their way into that end zone. So very exciting for us to see that board finally get lifted up into place there in the stadium. We're going to go outside of the building now here. We're going to walk through one of our club spaces. So this is underground in the building. This is actually where you would go and buy your food and beverage at one of these bar spaces and then walk out here to actually see the video and see the game. Our stadium is set up in a way that 100,000 people will be here for the Olympics, but only 70,000 people will be here on Charger Sunday. And so when you see all these spaces, they're massive. This is where I took that picture looking out at the NFL Network building, which is right up over here. And so again, you see the trees, the final touches, which, as you guys know, when you start to do landscaping on a house, it means it's up for sale pretty soon after that. So we're getting very, very close to this development coming to a conclusion. And looking out here now, you're going to see the entire rest of the district, which is what I wanted to showcase for you guys, because this is where you're seeing construction take place on the residential grid, which is going to be the future home of 2,500 new homes here on the district. You're also seeing the NFL Network here in the background, but this is all landscaping where future homes and residences are going to be adjacent to this lake, these park spaces that you see that are now being near completed. So I don't want to do the whole video. It is a little bit longer there, but I do want to leave some time here for any questions before we do shift over into Annette and get some great information on what's kind of happening here with LA Metro. But did anybody have any questions on anything we went over? Again, when we do talk about the development, really there's 3 phases to it. And the first phase is now coming to a really kind of a headwind, and we're seeing some progress on the rest of those phases as well. So the last thing I'll share with you guys here is this Hollywood Park Life page, which you guys can go to on your own. If you do have interest in staying up to date on the project, you can get information here on the project, on the residential side of the district, on the retail side of the district. So this is where we really kind of showcase the project to the public. And, again, this is what we were just looking at here, is this, 2,500 acres, or 2,500 homes, that are coming on the eastern part of the acreage. And you're starting to see those parklands that'll connect all of those completed now. So very exciting for us on the project.
There is another question. We have some just really good feedback and thanking you. And then we have one question: is the housing for rent, for sale, or combination?
Great question. And I know we have a lot of realtors in the room. So obviously, the housing is a big question. When we look at the housing, you're going to have some of the housing that's going to be, more than likely for rent. I would call those more of your live, work, play style housing. If you come down here to Playa Vista, where my office is, we have the Runway Apartments right nearby. And those are apartments that are on top of commercial. So you'll have a CVS, a yogurt spot, maybe a bar or a restaurant. And then on top of those residential units where, again, this would be a live, work, play for an executive that maybe works nearby in our commercial district and wants to stay close by in the district in terms of their housing. The rest of the district, so that's that first little grid that you saw right here. This is maybe call it 150 to 250 homes. The bulk of the homes on the eastern panhandle, those are still up in the air. So, obviously rent control being introduced in Los Angeles and Inglewood plays a big portion in that. And you guys are active in the real estate market, and you guys have seen the growth in this area specifically over the past, call it 5 to 7 years. We've seen an increase in home prices here in Inglewood in anywhere from the 50 to 75% range. And so really for the development, there's no rush to build those houses until we really get a kind of a better understanding for the rest of the district. So, is there more need for commercial? Is there more need for housing? Since I've been on the project, I've seen this number, 2,500, jump from 15 to 3,500 to 2,500. So it shifts pretty regularly. And again, when we look at our 3 phases, it's opening day of the stadium, 2021, 2022 for the retail and commercial, and then right after that would be that housing. And so you should start to see some clarity on that question here in the next coming months. I would imagine the hotel will be announced and some of those housing partners as well.
Okay, great. And we do have a handful of questions, so we'll kind of need like rapid fire answers.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go through them really quick right now. One is, what will the average size of homes be? Do you know that?
Going to go back to that same answer. It's up in the air, to be determined, depending on what they kind of decide which plan.
Okay. And then when will SoFi be available to tour, and who would we contact?
So you guys are in good hands. Hiroko and I have been, working for quite some time together, and we're going to make sure that you guys, Aria gets an invitation to come out and do a tour at the stadium. We're just still working with, local and health guidelines to figure out like how we do that. Is it 5 people? Is it a time? Is it, your whole group at a time. We're still kind of waiting on guidelines, but as soon as we can, you guys are going to be included in that group. So again, just stay aware, keep watching your ARIA email chain. We're going to have an invite out for you guys soon.
Awesome. And then we have another question. Who will be selling the housing?
Great question. So looking down here, the team that's in charge of the project is the Kroenke Group. So Mr. Kroenke owns the Rams, the Arsenal Football Club in Europe, the Denver Nuggets, and the Avalanche in Denver. So he is a real estate developer at heart, and he also owns a couple of teams as his side project. So Mr. Kroenke and the Kroenke Group with Wilson Meany, CBRE, those are our partners right now at this time. And great question, whoever asked it. It very well could get outsourced to local realtors in LA if they do decide to sell, or if they decide to rent, they might keep it in-house or use an agency. So still a lot of questions up in the air on that.
Awesome. And then last question, how was the project funded and what were some of the challenges that the EIR presented?
Great question. So the stadium itself was funded through two sources. The first source being our owner, Mr. Kroenke, and then the second source being through our seats. So with the seats that we have here in the stadium, they all include a seat license. And the seat license ranges anywhere from $100 up to $75,000. And so that money there is what goes towards developing the stadium. So that $75,000 for this seat here is what would go towards developing the stadium. So the stadium cost $5 billion. A portion of that is paid out of these tickets and a portion by Mr. Kroenke and the Chargers ownership group.
Awesome. Okay, any other questions before we hand it over, or any closing remarks, William, that you wanted to share?
Yeah, again, I appreciate you guys, having me out here to get you guys an update on the project. Hiroko and I were planning on doing this at our stadium event center. So just know that, we want to keep you guys up to date. This is a large development here in LA. And as soon as I do get questions that you have, in the chat, I wrote those down. And as soon as I get answers to those, I will forward those along to the group so that you guys can get that. I'm also going to put my contact information in the chat here. And if anybody does have any questions, if you want to set up a virtual coffee and learn a little bit more about the stadium, I'm more than happy to set up times as I'm working from home here over the next couple of months.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Will. It was an amazing presentation, and we're super happy that you were able to join us and share all of this information. So we'll definitely be sending out a follow-up email with Will's contact information, as well as it's there in the chat for all of you who have any further questions.
Thank you guys so much for having me out.
Thank you. So our next speakers are from the LA Metro, and we're so fortunate to have with us today Annette Cortez and Nicole Avita. Annette Cortez is the Community Relations Manager for the Crenshaw LAX Transit project, and Annette will be discussing that project. And we also have Nicole Avita. She's the Manager of Transportation Planning for transit-oriented communities. And Nicole will be discussing the LA Metro's Joint Development Program and how that relates to housing in the LA region. So Nicole and Annette, we're ready for you guys. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm just finding my unmute button. Can you hear me now? Great. Good afternoon, and thank you for having us. My name is, again, Annette Cortez, Construction Relations Manager for the Crenshaw LAX project. And so my team works with, we are between the technical team, which is the contractor, and the community. So we have a tough job. Let me try and get this going. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to start off with an overview. Our contractor that is building the main line and the 8 stations is Walshe Corridor Constructors. And as part of this project, we also have the Southwestern Maintenance Yard, which was completed by Hensel Phelps Herzog, and that was completed last year in spring. The light rail Crenshaw Lakes Transit project is 5.5 miles, and it will, when it's ready, it will be serving the cities of Los Angeles, Inglewood, and El Segundo. It will provide 8 new stations, 3 which are underground, 4 at grade, and 1 is an aerial station. And the northern start of the line is at Crenshaw and Exposition, and it will travel down Crenshaw Boulevard into Inglewood on Florence and all the way to the 105, and it'll connect to the C line, which is the formerly known as the Green Line. This project is anticipated to be handed over from the contractor to Metro in the winter of this year. And following that, Metro will require a couple of months to do train testing and operator training. The life of the project budget is $2.148 billion. The structures that have been completed are the 3 underground stations, the 4 at grade stations, and an aerial station. I'm being distracted by our pictures here on the side. But on the side here, you can see the map of the underground stations. The civil work that has been completed are the dual parallel tunnels underground, the Kind Cover Tunnel, which is also an underground area on Crenshaw Boulevard, and there's 5 bridges and retaining walls, which are the overpaths. Also, street restoration has been completed. We still have some major final restoration that is pending. And I just added a couple of pictures so that you can kind of get a peek view at the underground. This is one of the tunnels at the Expo Crenshaw station, southbound tunnel. These tunnels are about 20 feet in diameter. This is also another picture of one of the underground stations. In the background, you can see that some of the artwork has already been installed. That's an elevator shaft. Here, I just thought this was pretty cool, this large truck on the tracks, and also more installation of artwork. These are some of the electrical closets that are in the underground stations and these are all the communication components. There are over 8,000 communication points for our stations, including first responders or all our camera systems to our main control rock system. This is a Leimert Park Station Plaza. This is one of the underground stations, but this is the plaza level, and it's coming along nicely. We recently had some of the landscape installed, and some of the safety measures and utilities are being installed. So this is the station that's on Crenshaw and Vernon, excuse me. As part of the underground stations, there's also street restoration that is a component of that work, and mostly curb and gutter, brand new curb and gutter along Crenshaw Boulevard, sidewalks, streets, new light poles, some newly installed for some of our at-grade stations in terms of security so that pedestrians can access the station safely. This is Hyde Park Station. As you can see, it's pretty much built out. These are all the canopies, the ticketing areas, and this station is on Crenshaw and Slauson. Here you can see all the track work has been completed. This is also along Crenshaw Boulevard and 57th Street and 50th Street on the right. All the overhead catenary system, which is all the electrical that runs the power. These are the traction power substations you might have noticed along the alignment, and we have 10 of these sites, and these provide the power for the trains. So some of the testing that has started has been making sure that these stations are powered up and ready to go. This is part of the underground tunnels along Crenshaw Boulevard. It's really an amazing small world under the Crenshaw Boulevard with all the development that has occurred. This is a Fairview Heights station. It's on Florence and West. And this will have parking available in this area and also a structure that is being built, a separate project, but it's also a metro project, and it's a park and ride for over 100 vehicles. This is a downtown Inglewood station. This is probably the one that is closest to the stadium. And I know that the city of Inglewood has a couple of projects or in planning or discussion of how to connect from the station to the stadium. So there's lots of discussion around this station. There's also a park and ride in this area, and this will probably be a large hub for pickups, drop-offs, buses, maybe shuttles going to the stadium. This is also downtown station. You can see the sidewalk there is all ready to go. Safety measures, more structures, canopies. This is the Aviation and Century station, which is on Aviation and Century. This is the aerial station. Again, you can just see all the build out. This, between the last station and this station, there will be an additional station, which is known as the Metro Airport Connector. It's a separate project, but Metro is building it. And that will be on Aviation and 96th Street. And that is the station that will allow riders to access the LAX People Mover, which is a separate project that LAWA is building. And that LAX People Mover will go into the terminal and also access to their consolidated rental cars. At the end of last year, we began train testing different components of the system. And this is in the background here, you see the facility, the maintenance facility that's also part of this project. And this is where the trains for the LAX transit project will be housed, and also for the Green Line, C Line now. This is one of our trains during a recent test that was going over the 405 bridge. This is very exciting. Here's just some more pictures of trains during our train testing. This is in Inglewood. Same. Some of the remaining work is ongoing installations of communication systems, testing. Once the contractor is completed with their project, Metro has to also repeat, if not all of the same tests, to make sure that everything is working, all the components are working appropriately and safely. Underground ventilation systems, roadway restoration coming up in the next 6 months, which will require lane closures. And that concludes my presentation. Sorry, I was going a little fast. I wasn't sure how much time I had, but this is our contact information. And if you'd like, we have regularly e-newsletters that go out with updates on the project and information on upcoming meetings. So if you're interested, please send us an email. We'll add you to the email list, or you can follow us on the social media.
Annette, we have one question. It says, as LA is earthquake territory, what happens when we have an earthquake to transit as well as to the stadium? Are there emergency exit points for underground rail?
Yes, there are many emergency procedures, and that's also part of the testing. There's large electrical rooms underground that have their own power, so in case there is an emergency, the power will stay up. I'm not sure how many hours. I believe it's 3 hours, and it'll give people enough time to exit, so the systems will continue to work. Like, you could go upstairs, and also there's large ventilation spans that will then, if they're in case of a fire, they push out the air. So there's definitely all of those safety measures are part of the system.
Awesome. Any other questions? Tiff, is there anything that you wanted to add?
Yeah, can I ask a quick question? I know you kind of briefly went over it. The project that's at Obama and I believe Crenshaw, did you say that is going to be where the underground station is going to be?
Yes, that's one of the 3 underground stations. It's on Crenshaw and Obama Exposition.
Yes.
Underground. So in order to connect to the current expo line, you'll have to come upstairs out to the street level and cross the street.
Okay.
That's one of them. And then you continue south. The next one is on Vernon. And then the other one is at the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Mall, which is on MLK.
And
Those
the timeline for that you said was 2021 or the completion?
The contractor will hand over the project to Metro. Hopefully, we're anticipating winter of 2021. By winter of 2021, then Metro will require our own testing, which could take up to about 5 months, which includes, again, the testing of all the systems, communications, emergency, making sure the train will be able to run well along the entire 8.5 miles, and train operators.
Great. Thank you so much for that information. Let's see, are there any other comments in the chat, questions? I don't think so. So thank you so much for that information, Annette. It was really helpful. We have our next also guest speaker, also from LA Metro, who is Nicole Avita. Nicole, let's see. Oops.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Hi, yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So I'm sharing my screen. I have a presentation as well. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nicole Velasquez Avitia. I'm a manager in Metro's Transit-Oriented Communities Department. So TOCs are places that, by their design, allow people to drive less and access transit more. TOC maximizes equitable access to a multimodal transit network as a key organizing principle of land use. And this is taken directly from our TOC policy, which was adopted in July of 2018. So I'm sure folks have heard the term TOD before, transit-oriented development. That typically focuses on a single site, whereas with TOC, we really look for opportunities to maximize development and look at ways to really connect communities to transit. So I specifically work in the Joint Development Department within countywide planning.
Nothing matters. And that's why that would be my biggest prayer to God, because we all have.
So Joint Development is the program through which we partner with private developers to build TODs on Metro-owned property. So some of the goals of JD are to support the community's vision for the station area, ensure high quality design, encourage housing for all income levels, improve the transit experience for our patrons, and also generate revenue that we can then reinvest back into the Metro system. So typically our JD process follows these 4 steps. We start first by engaging with the community to determine really what their vision is for these particular sites. Is there a community need for green space, affordable housing, a grocery store, a pharmacy? These are the things that we talk about when we start our initial community engagement and start to really set the community's vision for the site. We wrap those into what we call development guidelines for the site, which we then issue a competitive request for proposals and go through the process of selecting the developer for the site. We enter into negotiations with the developer. After that, we continue refining the project in partnership with the community. And joint development, we typically do these agreements through a long-term ground lease. It's not common for us to actually sell the Metro property to the developer. So we continue negotiating those terms. Once those are finalized, the developer secures all of their financing for the project, secures permitting, approval of construction plans by the local jurisdiction. and then they can start construction. So we updated our joint development policy back in 2016. And so now we have established a portfolio-wide goal that 35% of the housing units we create under the JD program must be affordable to residents earning 60% of LA County's area median income or less. And so to date, of the projects in our completed portfolio, 34% of those are affordable. And of the projects we have either in construction or in negotiations, 40% of the units are affordable. We allow a discount to the developers in exchange for affordable housing, and that discount can be up to 30% from fair market value. We also have an unsolicited proposals policy that allows developers to submit project proposals to us that aren't in response to a formal request for proposals. We also definitely emphasize in our JD program that developers include community-based organizations and small businesses as a part of their development teams. So this is a nice map of LA County showing you basically our entire JD portfolio. This includes completed projects, active projects, so sites that we're currently in negotiations with a developer on, or future sites, and those are also listed here. So for the future sites, these are locations that we anticipate releasing an RFP for in the next 1 to 3 years. So I've selected 3 projects just to highlight. This is one of our completed projects. This was done about 11 years ago. The developer was McCormick Baron Salazar, and this is at the intersection of Hollywood and Western, right at our station entrance. And it has 60 units, all affordable, about 9,000 square feet of retail space, as well as a child care facility. And so this is one of the projects that I currently manage. We are in negotiations with Little Tokyo Service Center to develop this site in East Hollywood at the Vermont Santa Monica station into 185 units of affordable housing, as well as a health clinic on the ground floor. And finally, this ties into the presentation that Annette just gave. Another one of our new opportunities is actually development of both metro property, but also County of Los Angeles property, right at the intersection of Crenshaw and Exposition. So this is the northern terminus of the Crenshaw LAX line. It's a little over, or almost 3.5 acres of land, and we are currently in negotiations with Watt companies to develop this site, both of these sites, into about 400 apartments, 20% of which would be affordable. On the metro property, they're exploring the possibility of bringing a grocery store into that site. And then on the county site, another about 25,000 square feet of commercial space, tentatively restaurant, bar, community serving uses like a community meeting room. So that's that project. And another thing that Metro is doing to contribute to affordable housing and the development of affordable housing in Los Angeles is back in 2017, we entered into a partnership with Enterprise, LISC, and LIF to develop the Match Fund. It's a loan program, and it's basically its goal is to support the preservation and expansion of affordable housing in Los Angeles. And so it's a pre-development loan that we offer, and we have partnered with, I think we have maybe 12 different organizations that we've issued these loans to. And again, it's for pre-development of affordable housing projects adjacent to transit. And here's my contact information. If you have any questions, my email's here. You can reach me at this number as well. And I can take questions if there are any.
Anyone has any questions for Nicole, please put it in the chat. Any questions? Robin has a question. Will there be green spaces?
Yes, so basically between the tracks of the exposition line and the building frontage, we will be creating 2 public paseos. So imagine this is an area where you could do a farmer's market or park food trucks. And so that would be a space that would not be developed, and again would be just public open space for the residents and transit riders to enjoy. There'll also be private open space within the development for the residents of the project.
Great. We have another question from Wendy. What is the impact of COVID on the developments?
That is a great question. We talk to our developers almost daily. There are a lot of unknowns as it relates to the economy in general, the real estate finance world in general. And so basically right now our strategy is to continue marching forward with these projects and sort of wait and see. But we're assuming, you know, we're still going to stick to our project timeline, but there is definitely a lot of uncertainty.
Let's see. I think that is all for the questions, unless anyone wants to put in any last minute questions. I don't see any coming through. So I just want to thank you again, Annette and Nicole, for sharing with us all of the new developments that the LA Metro has planned for our local community. And it's really great to know some of the efforts that LA Metro is putting forth for affordable housing projects. So that was really interesting to hear. So thank you so much again for all the information, and it was really helpful and informative for us all. So
Thank you guys again for having me.
yeah, thank you again too, Will. We appreciate having you on. So last but not least, I want to give the floor to our board of director and also our EDGE chair, Derek Hirano. He's going to be giving away some quick raffles for everyone for joining us as a thank you. So Derek, are you on?
I'm here.
Perfect.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Nicole and Annette and Will, for really informative stuff. I really appreciate all your time and you volunteering to kind of share that information with us too. So I have 2 $25 Amazon gift cards that we're going to be raffling off right now. I put everyone's name from about 20 minutes ago into a random name generator. So if you left before then if I call your name, obviously you're not going to get it. But I'm going to go ahead and pick a name right now. Do I need to share my screen to show that this is legit?
If you'd like, yeah.
You can.
Okay. You got it. You got it. All right. Can everyone see?
Yep.
Okay. So just so everyone can see, the names are all in here. Okay. So pick. Congratulations, Sharmi. Are you still on?
Yay, congratulations.
Yay.
Yes, she is.
All right, sweet.
Congratulations. That was great, Derek. I love that you can watch how it spins and everything. That's cool.
All right. So congratulations, Sharmi. We'll reach out to you afterwards to coordinate getting the $25 gift card to you. But since your name, I'm going to remove your name here since you won. And then I'm going to pick one more. So 3, 2, 1.
You like this way too.
And Lucy.
Lucy.
Congratulations. Is Lucy still on the call?
Yay.
I'm just going to say yes. But congratulations, Lucy. Alrighty. I'm going to get back to you, Tiffany. I'm going to stop sharing now.
Thank you again to all of our amazing speakers today for their great information and content. I hope everyone on the call learned some great information regarding these new developments in our local Los Angeles area. Thank you again to our board members and events chair for putting this together, as well as a big thank you to our chapter sponsors, Citi, HSBC, American Trust Escrow, and Chase for their continued support. And without them, we wouldn't be able to put on great events like this for you guys. So stay tuned for more amazing webinars and content that we have and we'll be hosting soon. We'll be sharing the link and the recording of this with all of the attendees today. So thank you again for everyone for joining us today, and we will see you all again soon.
Great job. Great job, Tiffany.